Hi everyone, my name is James. Welcome to King's Fine Woodworking. Today we're going to tackle a project that has been in very high demand for a long time. Well, I'm finally doing it, and I'm including these mallets in a very limited edition run in our half-price Christmas sale. It's a sale that begins right now, Black Friday 2019. Since we first started building our Thor's Hammer woodworking mallets about 2.5 years ago, people have continually asked if I could do it where I put more than one species or more than one color of wood in the head. I avoided it for a long time because I wasn't really sure how it would look with the shape and the style of the Thor's Hammer, and I knew it's going to be a lot more work because I deal with mostly exotics, and exotics have to be meticulously cleaned with acetone before you can glue them together. So I knew it kind of required some extra work, but we thought this Christmas we'd go ahead and give it a try. So we grabbed 9 different species of exotic woods to combine and put into the head of the mallets, and we've got some that we've never used before, and I think they have made some really fantastic combinations. You can see here we have some zebra wood, we have some lace wood, we have some yellow heart, we've got some really nice stuff we're putting together. There's another woodworker out there that goes by the name of Joos, J-O-O-S Woodworks, and I don't know if they have a YouTube channel, but I've seen their work on Instagram. In fact, I've bought one of their little tiny keychain woodworking mallets, and it's just a fantastic little piece of woodworking, and so I wanted to put that out there if anybody wants to go and check out their stuff. It's great. So I can't take credit for this design idea. Obviously, they were doing it long before me. I don't think I have the same species or colors of wood that they're using, but I've seen it before, and I thought maybe we're going to go ahead and give it a try. Some of the pieces are a little bit thinner than the others, and so we're resawing some of this material down. And I think we set everything up where we're cutting it in approximately 24-inch lengths. We're actually going to just make a limited run of these things. I've set up here to make a batch of 40 mallets, and I will probably make one more batch, and that's it. But check out this sweet tool. This was invented by Andy Klein. You guys know him. I'm going to put a link to his YouTube channel down in the description below. He invented this tool, and this is like a hold-down grip to hold pieces of wood and joint them safely. You can put a tremendous amount of pressure on them. The legs are really quickly adjustable, so you can joint all different sizes and thicknesses of woods. And it's very safe. Keeps your hands way away from that jointer blade. That was very cool. He was visiting me in the shop a couple of months back and brought these to show them to me, and I made sure that he did not leave with them, so I kept them. Hopefully he doesn't see this video because he's probably going to want them back. So I'm throwing these into our Christmas sale, which starts today, right now, in fact, after this video here, for half price Thor's Hammer woodworking mallets. These will be half price as well. I'm going to make a limited run of these. Like I said, I'll make 2 batches of 40, so it'll be about 80 total. And when they're gone, but they will be in here for the Christmas sale. And if you're interested in picking up a mallet this Christmas for a gift for you or for somebody else, there's a link in the description below and a discount code. And the discount code is Christmas50, and I'll have a link to that below so you can see it. This is my youngest daughter, Sai. She really likes turning on our metal lathe. She has a lot more fun on this than she does on the wood lathe, and it's pretty amazing what she can do here. She's just extremely fast, and she can cut curves, angles, all kinds of complex shapes just by moving the carriage back and forth and the cross slide in and out, and she's become very adept at it. She's turning a wenge handle here, and wenge is a species that you absolutely have to wear a dust mask for when you're turning it or sanding it, especially when you're sanding it. It's a species that can produce toxic dust, so it's very important that you do that. And we like to use a Hut product. It's a wax-based type of a finishing product that fills any minor scratches in the surface, and we can actually do a light sanding over this and lacquer over the top of that. But it gives us a really nice finish and a nice sheen. And this is another one of my daughters. Her name is Kavita. She likes turning on the wood lathe, and she's also very talented at the lathe, just like Maya is. And she's turning us a maple handle here. This one's a tiger maple handle, and we use a Hut product for this as well. It's a little bit lighter in color than the one that went on the wenge, but it gives us a nice sheen here and fills any microscopic scratches that might be on the surface. Yeah, and once we are done getting all of the boards cut to approximate length, we're going to cut them here to approximate width before we proceed to our glue up. And there's the lace wood. That's really beautiful when that wood's all finished and sanded and complete. And there's a piece of wenge there. which is a nice addition, I think, to this collection. And this is a piece of Bolivian rosewood. This is a species that we have not used very much. It's a very beautiful rosewood. It's a shrew rosewood. It comes from South America. And this is a piece of padauk. And the padauk is what surprised me the most. I thought it was very elegant looking in these mallets. And here's zebra wood. Zebra wood is another species we have never used in any of our mallets. We have a big supply of that. That's great stuff. And there those pieces are, getting ready to go through the planer because I want them all to be a consistent thickness. And Maya is feeding them into the planer, and Kavita is catching them as they come out the other side. And next up here is a very interesting looking piece of bacote that's going in one side and out the other, and you can see the grain and figure on that. It's pretty neat. This is one of my favorite species of woods as well. I like that one a lot. And there they are. Everything is dressed and ready. We've got some thin stock of maple and wenge, and then all of our other exotics. Now it's time to clean everything off. Cleaning is probably one of the most important steps if you're going to glue up exotics. We want these exotics to stay bonded together forever, and that's really easy to accomplish if you take the surface oils off first. Now this is acetone, so anything that I get spilled onto my table saw won't hurt a thing. It's not good for plastics, it'll dissolve it, but it will take all of the oil off of these exotics. I like to rub it in really good, then take a clean towel and wipe the excess oil off with a clean towel. And some species might require a couple of applications. Things like wenge, it's a little extra oily, and padauk as well. And here's the padauk. You can see how oily this is, and that rag is really picking it up. And of course we are operating all around the shop trying to get these things built. And now it's time for our glue up. So you obviously know that I do like to put a lot of glue on everything that I do, and I think that's never more critical than on something like a mallet. For example, I don't want any portion of the mallet, the wood, touching another piece of wood that doesn't have glue in contact with it. So I don't want any two dry pieces of wood ever touching, because these are going to undergo a lot of force in their lifetime, and so I just want to make sure that every conceivable square centimeter is fully bonded to the piece of wood that it's attached to. And we accomplish that by putting a little more glue than is necessary. And I'm going to put a series of these together in the clamp so I can clamp them all up at once. And you probably couldn't tell, but I was very careful not to have glue on the boards that aren't being bonded together. And I'm going to use some cauls there. And I'm even using a little caul kind of at the end, just temporarily to squeeze those boards into line. You can see that, and then Maya's going to take that clamp off of it because those have done their job. These are all now nicely in line. And then we have upper and lower cauls, and I've got a little barrier of clear tape there so nothing sticks to those. And the bottom ones are tight. Now we're going to put a series of clamps on the top. Now these I-beam clamps put out a lot of force, so for these clamps I'm not cranking them down all the way. I think these clamps can go all the way up to 7,000 pounds, but I'm running out of parallel clamps, so I had to get those in the mix. And we've got it tilted up. There's the bottom side of it. You can see the excess glue. So we let this sit up overnight, actually about 24 hours, because I want to make sure these never come apart. And we'll go ahead and take the clamps off. And here you'll be able to see why it was important that we didn't let glue get between these blocks of wood. Otherwise we would never get them apart. As it is, a little bit of glue will run over the top of one and touch the top of the other, and those still have to be pried apart, sometimes banged apart like that. But if we had a lot of glue, of course, they'd never come apart. So it's very important if you're gluing up a batch of things all at once and two things shouldn't be glued together, that you make sure those are clean. So from there, we'll take it over to the jointer, and I want to just joint one edge. This will be the top edge, because this is the edge I took most of the glue off with a damp rag. So I'm going to get this top edge nice and flat. Yeah, it's pretty cool there. We're already kind of getting a preview of what these mallet heads are going to look like. And I like it. So far it's looking pretty nice. And here's the zebra wood, which I have never seen in a mallet before. We've used it for other things, but never this, and I think that's going to look fantastic. And this is that lace wood, which is another thing we've never used in a mallet, with some wenge in the middle. I like that quite a bit. And I think the yellow and the padauk also look really good together. Yellow heart we haven't used. And that looks really good with padauk, and the little stripes in between there. I think that adds a little bit to the accent. Kind of cool. So once we're done treating the one side of all of these, then I'm just going to slice the other side off and basically get it down to the correct width over at the table saw, and I don't have to worry about scraping all that glue off the bottom. That's just too much work to get it all scraped off, and so I purposely made these about 1/4 of an inch wider than I needed, specifically so that I could do this. And just a quick request, if you guys like the videos that we put out, if you could just take a moment and click that subscribe button down below, that helps our channel grow. Thank you. Now I'll take a little preview of what each of those are going to look like, and so far it's looking pretty good. I think those are some pretty decent color combos, and those are a couple of my favorites in there. I'm definitely liking that. So now it's time to go ahead and cut out the mallet heads themselves. And I'll just set up my stop on the chop saw to the correct length for the mallet head, and we'll just go ahead and cut all of these. Cut down nice and slow so that we don't have any chip out, and make sure your blade's clean and sharp at the same time there, and that way that'll also prevent some chip out and tear out. I think this next one here is probably my favorite. This is Padauk on the outsides, Wenge in the middle, and it's got a thin stripe of maple on either side of it. It's probably my favorite color combo right there. And here we've got a preview of the first 40 mallet heads that we have getting ready to go. And so far I like it. I think it's pretty good. Hopefully we'll see what it looks like once the corner cuts are done. It may look fantastic, but I'm pretty impressed so far. We've got to drill our 1-inch holes in these in order to hold the handles. And this is one of my concerns. I wasn't sure exactly how a round hole is going to look in a mallet like this. I know a lot of people will just put a rectangular handle in. It is definitely easier to do because you can glue it up in segments. This required us to be pretty precise in order to get this right in the center, but I think it's gonna look nice. Here again, we'll have to wait and see when it's all done. So our brad point bit kind of died on us. It got pretty dull, so we had to switch over to a new carbide bit here. And we'll see if this guy keeps going. That's the problem with drilling exotics. Our bits don't last long. We realistically get about 10 mallet heads, and they're done. And then we've got to go buy another one. They're very hard to get sharpened, pretty expensive to get sharpened, so it's kind of a necessary expense. All right, now we're ready to start cutting our angle cuts on the end. You might recognize this sled. This is our mini crosscut sled, and I have a lot of mini crosscut sleds, and typically I just convert them into different tools for cutting different things, and it just makes for a really handy jig. We can convert it into cutting a very specific item very quick, very easy, and very safely. A cut like this is a little bit dangerous to cut otherwise, and I've even been guilty of making a quick cut on the end of a piece of wood like this just by holding it by hand and using my table saw fence, which is not the safest way to go. So if you can ever build a jig, that's always the best thing to do. And you can kind of see the result of that first cut. That's looking pretty nice. We'll just flip it over and do the same series of cuts on the bottom side. And there's the first step in progressing towards a mallet head. And I do like it a little bit better. I think it's going to work out. And there they all are, complete up to this stage. And that's pretty cool. Alright, so the next step is we're going to take an angle cut off of this side. This one does have to be handheld, but this isn't really very dangerous. I don't think the camera really shows how well this works, but that blade is realistically about 1/2 inch above the surface of the table, and it's really quite a ways from anybody's hand. And there's the first one. That's what our completed heads look like. And just like that, we have 10 of the mallet heads ready to go. That's a full set of colors that we're going to offer here. And we're going to take them over and start sanding them. Once the sanding is done, they will need to have their surfaces cleaned one more time with acetone. Even alcohol would work here. It really depends on how oily the wood is. Usually they're not too bad once they've already undergone the first cleaning. But since they sat for a day or two, it's good to get the remainder of any oil that might have seeped back up off before we put lacquer finish on them. And these here are ready for a lacquer finish. Now the heads are off to their first coat of lacquer, which we usually do before we put the handles in. The handles actually all fit very, very snug, so the inside's got to be sanded out, so we don't bother to tape the holes closed if any lacquer goes onto the insides. We'll sand those and put the handles on after the fact. But overall, I am very impressed. I actually really like these heads, and I hope you guys do too. Remember, these are all part of our Christmas half-price sale, and there'll be a link to those in the description down below, along with the code Christmas50, which you'll use at checkout, which works for every mallet we have. We have 416 different combinations of mallets that a person can have, and they'll all be listed in the description below. And she's getting ready to fit a handle to one of the mallets. This mallet head has not been finished yet, but this gives us an idea of the length of the handles, and we'll cut all the remainder at this length. We'll do a pre-finish on those, and then we'll proceed to the assembly. And of course they have to have a slice down them because we drive a wedge in to really expand the mallet tenon very tight, the mallet handle tenon very tight against the head. And here those are complete. We have actually put one of each of the 10 different species of mallet handles that we offer into these heads so that you can see the variety that's available for these multicolored mallet heads. And that wraps up this part of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope this is something that you might be interested in. In addition to all of these different species of multicolored heads, of course, we still have all of our original mallet species available, and the main 10 exotics that we've always had, and of course the domestics. The only caveat here is that the exotics like the Lignum vitae and the Cocobolo are in very short supply, and we'll be running out of those, I suspect, within a few weeks, and that might be it on those since they're no longer being imported into the US. And that's it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching.